Hello, and welcome back to A Picky Vegan. My name is Erica, and this is Daughter Diaries. Today I'm making one of my family's favorite desserts. It is Blackberry Dumplings. So this is it's a dish we've been making for, oh gosh, I don't know, 6, 7 years. It's only a handful of ingredients. It's very good. I'm going to show you how to make it today. And this will be, I think, the second time, if not the third time, we've made it vegan style. And the only thing that's vegan about it is the biscuits and the butter we're adding. So for blackberry dumplings, it's just a kind of like a stew of blackberries, the sauce they're in, which is just from the blackberries, and little pieces of biscuits. And we're going to be using some instant biscuits, and I'll get those real quick. We're using, Immaculate Biscuits, and I think there's 8 in here. I forget. Either way, though, you're going to take each slice of biscuits and you're going to tear them up and put them in here, and once it cooks, that's blackberry dumplings. So I guess we'll start with the instructions. I was trying to explain what it was, but it sounds like instructions now, so we'll just start from the top, I guess. Today we're making a small batch, and I know this looks big. This is the pot you would use for like pasta or like really big soups, but it is a smaller batch. I just didn't want to worry about it overflowing in a smaller pot. So you're going to use about 32 ounces of, 32 ounces of blackberries, which is 4 cups of blackberries. Fresh or frozen. We typically use frozen just because having frozen fruit is a lot easier. Just have it in the house, not particular to this dish, but just having in the house. But the stores are out of frozen blackberries, so we're using fresh. So I have roughly 32 ounces or 4 cups of blackberries, and you're going to wash them really good and then put them in a pot with some water, just enough to cover them. And then once that's done, you're going to add your sugar. So we have pure cane sugar. It doesn't have to be cane sugar. It just can't be brown sugar or powdered sugar. It has to be granulated sugar. And this is to taste, but just to start, we're going to add half a cup. In this family, we don't have a lot of sugar, or typically we don't like having a lot of sugar, or we don't have that often. So we're gonna try just half a cup, but it's gonna be to taste. So we might find that later it needs more sugar. And the berries are already pretty sweet, but blackberries can be sweet and or tart. So let's see, I poured my sugar, that's about half a cup. And we're gonna add that in. You don't have to wait for it to boil or anything, you actually want to add it now. And then we're going to add our butter. Now, you could use any of your favorite vegan butters, but we actually started making our own butter. So it's just in a jar, and we're actually pretty low. We have another jar that we'll use if we have to. And this is just made with coconut milk, coconut oil, and sunflower oil. It's not really easy to spread, but it's really good when you're trying to coat your pasta in butter or melt it on bread or things like that, because it doesn't spread very easily. If you know how to make easily spreadable butter, please let us know. If you're just using like a stick of butter, then I would probably say use 4 tablespoons, or maybe a whole stick. Start with 4 tablespoons. And this recipe has been in the family for so long, we're actually not sure what purpose the butter serves, whether it is to thicken up the sauce, which is my personal theory, or if it's more for flavor. It's there for a reason, so you do want to add butter in a decent amount. So this is probably going to be, let's see, 1, 2, and that's probably 3.5, more realistically. And I honestly think that's enough. I'm trying to remember from when we used to cook it and just mentally eyeballing how much we previously used. And I definitely think that's probably going to be enough butter. So 4 tablespoons. And you're going to stir it. It's important that you don't mash the blackberries. You want them to be as solid or as whole as they can. You're not making jam or anything, so there's no need to try to smash up every single one. So just give it a good stir and make sure the butter melts completely. And I'm going to move the camera, so if you're motion sick, just be cautious of that. I'm going to try to be as smooth as possible. So that's the butter mixing with the water, because technically it is made of 2 different oils. That's why it looks like this. But should be fine. Last time we were using a store-bought butter. It was still vegan. It was called Earth Balance, which that was really good. It's spreadable. It melts well. I can recommend it. It did have some canola oil, which we try not to have. That's just a personal preference of ours. And then it has olive oil, which I'm trying personally not to have. It's just me. If you're not sure about that, why I mentioned that, you should go look at our food sensitivity video. I believe I mentioned the reason in there. And we're just going to keep stirring. Ideally, you wouldn't use a metal spoon because it's going to get hot eventually because the water's going to be hot, but it's not hot enough yet. It's just hot enough to melt the butter. But just be careful. Eventually, I will switch over to a wooden spoon. And once the butter is melted, you're going to cover it and cook it for about 30 minutes on, I believe, high. I might be wrong. It might be a medium high or just medium. I'll double check with my mom, and the correct temperature should be in the description at the very least. Yep. And so I did wash these. And technically my mom washed them. She washed them several times, and every so often she finds a leaf. And that's just because we bought them from the store and they were fresh strawberries. Not strawberries, blackberries. So just make sure you wash everything thoroughly, and if you do see something, just scoop it out with a spoon. Here we go. Yep, let's fix the camera a little. There we go. That's why it's always important to wash every fruit and vegetable you buy, whether it's fresh and you can just pick on different, pick it from different stands, or if it comes in a bag or a little tray, or if you just get it from your garden, it doesn't matter. You always want to make sure you're washing it completely. And technically even some of your frozen fruits and vegetables as well. We did put these through a strainer, but a strainer is not going to catch leaves because they're thicker than the holes of the strainer. And then at one point she did just pick it with her hands to make sure she only got the blackberries, but they're still here. So some of it I'm sure is just coming off of the blackberries. Maybe they brought a little bit of the stem with it when they were picked. I don't know. Either way, if we see it, we're just going to take it right out. And actually, I think some of it is the center of the berry itself coming out. Now I'm looking at it. Because see, there's this berry right here. And that actually looks like what I pulled out earlier. That could be it. Like I said, we usually use frozen blackberries, not fresh, just because it's what we have in our freezer. It's easier. And to clarify again, it's just easier to have in the house. It's not necessarily easier for this dish particularly. Alright, so the butter is definitely melted. I'm going to go ahead and cover this and cook it for 30 minutes on high heat, and make sure you stir occasionally. Oh, look at them. Nice and red now. Alright, so let's cover them, and I'm going to put 30 minutes on the timer, and I'll come back when we're ready for the biscuits. Alright, so So now it's time to add our biscuits. Like I said, we're using Immaculate Biscuits, and I believe there's 8 of them inside there. So you're going to take your biscuit, and you're going to take a small piece and just tear it off. And you're going to roll it between your fingers until you get a small round like dough. And they're going to be about the size of marbles. And then you're just going to, careful, add it to the
pot.
The pot, yep. And I have Cody here helping me do this since we're going to add, I think, 4 biscuits, if not all of them. When you drop them in, they will splash a little bit, so please be careful. This should be boiling, but I was doing a few other things, so I turned it down to low, so it will start boiling eventually. And technically, they're not going to retain their round shape, so if you want to, you could just tear off a small piece and just chuck it in. But just so we have a decent amount of biscuit pieces, we're going to roll them. They'll be around-ish after they cook. And you'll probably cook this for another 15 minutes on medium, just to make sure that the dough is completely cooked and not raw. And you'll notice, I think you can see it, no you can't. I'll move the camera in a second. No, I was going to show how the biscuits actually inflate, or at least soak up some of the liquid, and they get bigger. Sadly, they do not stay that big. They will shrink back down as they're cooking. And don't worry if they're not all the same size, if some are a little bigger, some are a little smaller. You just want to make sure you're tearing it off and making little pieces. You don't want to just chuck the whole biscuit in, is what I'm saying.
Unless you do want to do that and want to have trouble eating it or have trouble cooking it, then by all means, be our guest.
Well, we've never done it before, so at this point, if you decide to chuck in a whole biscuit, it's not our fault.
Yeah, you're flying in the dark when you do that.
Yeah, we've never just thrown in a whole biscuit. I have once taken the biscuits, flattened them out with my hands, and put the sauce and some of the blackberries in the center and cooked them like regular biscuits. Very good. A little ineffective how I did it, because they tried to just go back to the form of biscuits where they split down the middle. So maybe a different kind of dough would be better.
Ow.
I feel like be careful.
I was being careful.
You weren't being careful enough.
I was trying.
Try harder.
So here you can all see my lack of technique for doing this. It really doesn't require much of a technique. The only thing I'd say is that with these specific biscuits, they tend to peel away quite a bit. So I just take another finger pinch, try to cut it off. That way you don't get a massive 2-inch almost meatball of bread of dough.
And if you do, you can just tear that away too.
Yeah, as long as it's not half the biscuit in there, you should be good.
Yeah. And what's nice is if you take a piece and it's too small, you could just pinch away some more and add to it and just roll it. And they're going to float to the top. It's going to look like there's a whole sea of biscuits. Once again, they will shrink back down, but then also they will sink a little, so then it won't be as much. So the more biscuits, the merrier. And
well, definitely more biscuits the merrier. That's the best part of this dish.
You mean it's not the blackberries?
No, because that adds flavor. Don't get me wrong, the blackberries are great, especially in this dish, but it's that doughy, soft crust pizza goodness, but without the crust, that really makes this dish.
The soft doughiness.
Yeah.
Almost like a dense cake, but
yeah.
more doughy in a sense.
I'm sure some of you are saying by now, well, that's not a real dumpling because there's nothing inside of it like a typical dumpling. And yeah, we know. You're basically making sub biscuits and then pouring it or chucking them into a pot. Take my beef dumplings, for example. That is an outside piece of dough, bread, whatever you want to call it, with beef inside. That's a proper dumpling.
Right.
Or chicken, I imagine. So why anyone would call this blackberry dumpling, I'm not entirely sure. Because actually, you know what would be interesting? Taking one of these and then injecting one of these with the sauce and some blackberries from this, and then making that a real dumpling.
I did that once.
Oh, you did?
I just talked to you about that, how I flattened this with my hands.
Yeah.
Right. and I put them all in a pan, and I took some of the sauce, scooped it into here, and I closed them and put them in the oven.
Oh, sorry. I was too mesmerized by my own dough making.
Sure.
You were just background noise. I apologize.
So I guess you're not getting any.
I just take some.
No. But you liked that. The only thing was they tried to go back to the biscuit form, so I would have to have a dough that wasn't like pre-formed, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I guess we'll just have to make our own. And this sauce is really runny.
Yeah, it is.
So when I added it to the biscuits, it just kind of ran all over the place. It was still there, don't get me wrong, but it didn't like close it like a basket, you know?
It ran all over the place more than a kid on a sugar high.
Yeah. So now it's bubbling. It's supposed to.
Yeah, what's also interesting is you can see the slight discoloration between the more runny sauce and I imagine the sauce that's starting to mix with the dough and making the dough kind of foam a little bit.
A little bit, but also we're actually using the vegan butter we made, which is made of 2 different oils. So we're literally mixing oil and water. So the discoloration is also from that. And I'm sure it's going to be fine, but just visually it looks off. Flavor, I'm sure, is amazing. I meant to taste it. I didn't taste it. I don't know if I added enough sugar. Once it cooks for the 30 minutes, you're meant to taste it. But I was making a different video for this channel as well. And once that was done, it's like, okay, time to add the biscuits. So I haven't tasted it yet. I'll take a spoon in a second and taste it. Oh.
That one almost got you.
Yeah, I think you got me earlier.
What?
I felt it didn't burn, but it
Impossible.
Move your hands for a second. Yeah, I'm gonna grab the tripod and show. So, we're not all the way done with our first 2 biscuits, but this is what it looks like. And believe me, they will not stay that size. They will shrink. As much as it would be amazing if they stayed that size, they don't. I wish they did.
That's when you just take a big piece like this.
No, yeah. So pretty much whatever size you throw in there, they will roughly shrink back down to that size. It might be a little bigger than the original size, but they're not going to be what I just showed you. Do not.
Do not what?
Do not throw in that whole piece.
I was going to roll it up. Give the people what they want. They want to see a big piece like this in there.
How do you plan to find it later to show them?
I don't. But they want to see it at least go in there.
No! When you're making blackberry dumplings, you do what you want.
I'll make it a little smaller.
Child.
There you go.
Child.
Smaller.
What is it?
I'll at least put that in there. Take a little bit more here. I thought I took a bigger piece than that, but whatever. There, counsel. Is this better?
No.
Yes, it is.
They're supposed to be...
It's bite size.
No. They're supposed to be a little bit of biscuit every bite. That's why you make them so small.
I mean, yeah, but there's got to be enough biscuit in the bite for you to get satisfaction. Okay, there we go. I'm not going any smaller than that. And I know some of the, shall we say, pranksters in the audience are probably looking at this and saying, hey, that looks like the spitball I shot at my friend back in high school. And yes, it does look exactly like that, except for the fact it's not paper, so it's edible.
Not right now, it isn't.
Well, I mean, you could eat it, whatever the repercussions may or may not be.
Please do not eat raw dough.
You don't.
Technically, I guess if you wanted to. You're looking at me
What?
like, I could have left it bigger.
No,
you couldn't have.
no, I want to hear what you're about to say.
We're only using four biscuits. We're going to have 4 left. If you wanted the dumplings to be bigger, you could just use all 8 but make them bigger.
Yeah.
But then still get the same amount of dumpling because you'd be using 8. Can
you give me my next one?
You could have got yourself. You could have got it yourself.
It's kind of blocked by you.
You could have gone to my left.
No. Listen, I'm not Anthony Mackie, okay?
Mm-hmm. This is my brother, by the way, if I didn't say that earlier. If you think
What, that makes me more deplorable? Is that what you're getting at?
No, but if you think I'm just being too harsh on you, I'm not. I'm teasing him. This is sibling love.
Debatable on the love. Let's call it behavior. Okay. Right. There you go. Hopefully y'all are enjoying this, I was going to say gameplay, but it's not gameplay.
But you're high score of the
Right.
biscuit tearing.
And I have wanted to say ASMR, but you're not really going to hear the biscuit tear. It's not
No.
that noisy, so
And we're being too loud.
yeah. So so ultimately, just enjoying the satisfying sights of a biscuit being torn apart one by one. Satisfaction. It's a satisfaction compilation, but it's cooking. I wonder if that actually exists. That should
It does.
exist. Okay.
There's ASMR cooking.
I know that.
I've actually watched a few. It's pretty great.
That's what I should do. ASMR car fixing. It's just a drill taking off all the lug nuts on a wheel.
Rolling the tire.
Yeah, exactly.
You accidentally roll over a wrench and that makes a noise.
Just hear the brakes squeak because they're not right.
Mm-hmm.
Worn pads or warped rotors.
You hear the jack going up.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, by the way, after a minute, once the whole top is basically covered with biscuits, you can just start chucking them in there and not worry about splashing. There are some holes or gaps in the, you could say, netting of biscuits.
Let's test that theory. Okay. It does make a satisfying sound when it hits the top.
It's a little plop.
You're just breaking the surface.
Okay, you don't have to throw it.
That wasn't a throw.
Okay, look what I'm doing. Toss.
Okay, fine. I'm flicking it.
Yeah, you're more like, look what you're doing. You're purposely like trying to slam it into the ground.
Let me see if I can get it. What I'm doing on camera here. I can't. Okay. Almost.
Yeah, and I'm more like.
We need to
I'm basically dropping it.
Need a slow-mo reel of these hitting the surface and then just seeing how the liquid just forms around.
Yeah.
As the biscuit sinks deeper.
No.
More satisfying noises.
They probably can't even hear it though.
Yeah.
By the way, if you're wondering if by adding all these biscuits on top of each other, if they're going to stick together, they usually don't. I don't think that I've ever seen two biscuits stick together during this phase. You can be gentle, it's okay.
The audience wants to hear the plump. There you go.
You're going to splash someone, and if it's me, we're going to have a problem.
I will be unallowed to come back on a picky vegan for probably the next 5 videos.
Yeah.
I will be barred from entry.
Forget coming into the videos. You're going to be barred from going to the kitchen.
All right, there we go. I mean, you said it yourself, didn't you? There's enough on the surface so that it doesn't splash.
Yeah, I meant you no longer have to try to gingerly drop it in and be afraid of being splashed by hot, essentially water. You could just be a little more free and just drop it in and let gravity do the work while you are throwing it. No biscuit.
What's life without a little danger?
No consequences for you, essentially. I'm not trying to get burned. If it's caused by you.
Well, I'm not even throwing over there. I'm throwing over here, so.
Oh, you can control which way the splash goes now?
Well, if it's over there, that's more in your line of fire, I would think. Or maybe the phone.
So, if you throw one on the right side and it splashes me, then what's going to happen?
You're going to cry? You're going to call foul?
I call you a liar. It's like, what happened to your science, huh?
Look, all I'm saying is you're closer to that side of the pod, so you're more at risk there.
That one almost didn't make it into the pot. I almost threw it on the stovetop by accident. I say dropped it, because only one of us is the child again.
What? That's not that big.
Okay, wait.
Look, there's my palm. There it is. It's barely a spitball.
And put it back on your palm. This is the one I made.
Yeah, but that's too small. You can't really enjoy it. Hers, mine.
And we washed our hands beforehand, y'all. Don't worry.
I mean, they probably wouldn't have known or cared if he didn't say anything.
Oh, no. There would have been comments. They put the dough on his whole palm, and then he touched both doughs. Oh, my gosh.
There we go. That should be enough, right? Because that's almost 4.
Yeah, I'm almost done with mine.
Slow poke.
Well, I wasn't trying to get burned, so...
No way to get burned now.
Yeah, you're right, because you're done, so...
And guess what? I was chucking him in there. You didn't get burned.
So far.
We're all happy.
Just because it didn't happen this time doesn't mean it won't happen next time.
I mean, next time's probably going to be another half a year before we make this again.
Yeah, because typically we make this like once or twice a year.
Yeah.
And it's usually during winter. It's not winter, it's summer. But it just sounded like a good idea.
Hmm.
And then once you add every piece of biscuit, you're going to stir it and let it cook for another 15 minutes. Even though technically a lot of them have been cooking, but you want to make sure that every single piece is cooked and there is no raw dough in there. And I still need to taste the sauce. Can you have a spoon, please? No, a different spoon.
Oh.
That's the stirring spoon.
But it is a spoon.
Yeah, but I asked you for a tasting spoon.
You could taste it on that.
And then dip it back into the pot.
Yes. I mean, if you need a second taste, that's what you're going to end up doing with this anyway, so.
Josh.
Besides, technically, Mythbusters proved that double dipping doesn't add any more bacteria into your food.
I mean...
This is coming from someone that does not like double dipping.
I know. It's like, we're all family here. Like, we've been family for as long as you've not been alive, so...
Yeah.
Actually, Mom and I have been family for longer, but... Either way. I need to start...
Here is thine weapon.
It's not a weapon.
It is.
It would have been...
I mean, a spoon can be if you try hard enough.
Yeah, and it would have been if you burned me.
Because then I wouldn't be giving it to you. I'd be using it for self-defense. Like...
Ta-da! Whole blackberries and dumplings.
Wow!
And sauce.
Or what's the name? Wow!
Will you get copyright?
You really got them Barney colors going right there.
Alright, so this will be
You
hot.
knew where I was going with that.
No, I didn't. But let's not quote a bunch of memes in the video.
Food and memes is a great combination. Your hand is about to get burned right there.
Yeah, sure.
That's the of disappointment.
It's not sweet at all. It should be.
So how much more sugar do you need?
I added half a cup. I'm going to add another half a cup.
Oof.
Well, Mom says when we make a big batch, she thought we added 1.5 cups of sugar. So I mean...
Turns out she might have been right.
Yeah. Because at first I was like, that sounds like a whole lot of sugar. I don't think I want to add all that. I should have warned the audience first.
Sorry.
My only thing is sometimes when people move the camera on YouTube videos, it makes people motion sick.
Yeah.
So I at least like to say, I'm going to move the camera so people can be aware.
The only thing is your tripod's too light for proper camera work. It's so susceptible to vibrations.
This is one of your tripods.
Yeah, but I don't use it for cameras. I use it for lights.
Yeah.
And then let me just...
It turns out you didn't injure me, you injured the audience. Not
Didn't
really.
what?
Injured the audience. Because nothing. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, you ruined your own joke there.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I forgot there's like a hole in this
Oh,
sugar-
no.
in
That's
this-
bad.
like right here in the sugar bag. So I
Oh,
started
dear.
pouring out this hole. Alright, I think that's over half a cup. Just barely. We're gonna go a little over because this is meant to be a sweet dessert. A little tart and tangy because of the blackberries, but it's meant to be a little sweet.
That just looks like Cavity Central.
Yep, but you're gonna eat it and you're gonna like it.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a threatening way. You legitimately.
You were making a calm statement, not saying one of those. I'm not asking.
Yeah, because again, this is one of our favorite dishes. We love it a lot. So.
I think I like it the most out of all of us.
Yeah.
Actually, I tend to eat the most of it.
You tend to eat the most of everything in this household.
No, I hardly touch your vegan stuff.
Okay, before we were vegan,
I didn't touch the what's the potato thing that Dad used to make?
A potato dish?
Yeah.
Ooh, one dish compared to how many others?
I never really touched your meat sauce or your spaghetti.
Yeah.
Your opinion of me is outdated. Might want to do a system reboot.
I mean, there's rice-a-roni.
You don't really like that, though.
No, but that doesn't give you the right way to just eat it all.
It does, actually, because you don't eat it, Mom doesn't eat it, and Dad doesn't eat it left over.
It's a pepper dish. Nachos.
Yeah, but I don't have it left over.
No, but even without leftovers, like the first night, I'm going for thirds, y'all.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
That's true.
There's like 3 or 4 dishes you would do that with. Like, are you serious?
Yep. Stir fry definitely being the one I would go for thirds with. If I allowed myself to, I should say. If I'm going to go for thirds, there's hardly going to be any for tomorrow as a leftover. And that dish is amazing leftover. I think it actually gets better leftover because then all the sauces seem to marinate.
Yeah. The biscuits are starting to shrink.
Are they?
Yeah, because you see more of the blackberries floating, not the biscuits.
Mmm. The sauce still looks a little bit runny though.
It's meant to be a little.
I thought it was more saucy.
We let it simmer for a while.
Ah.
So then it'll thicken up a little bit.
Okay.
Unless I meant to ask Mom, were we supposed to drain some of the water? I forgot to ask her.
Because I was thinking it was somewhere in between, like water and jam consistency, somewhere in between that.
To me, it's like tomato sauce consistency.
Yeah, exactly.
Or a little runnier than tomato sauce.
Yeah, not just purple water.
Yeah, like Campbell's soup.
Yeah,
or tomato soup.
Because this almost looks like the equivalent of chucking a Mio in a water bottle. Does anyone remember those things? I think they still sell them at stores, but the commercials don't exist anymore. At least not on.
What was it?
Mio water. It was water flavoring. But it was in a packet, like Emergency, or the green drink that has, but it was a liquid, not a powder.
Right.
Yeah.
Didn't Dasani buy them out?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
But they don't do commercials for those anymore, despite the fact I think a year or two ago I saw some of those little Mios on the shelf.
Yeah. None of this is sponsored, by the way. We're just talking about different brands and products.
This is a typical rambling from me.
Alright, so I'm just giving it a really good stir because we added a whole new thing of sugar. And I'll probably let it cook for the next couple of minutes. Or, 15 or 30.
Oh dear.
On low, medium heat. Or medium to low, which way would that be?
Low to medium to low, because you're going from high to low heat. Or medium to low heat in this case.
Yeah, usually in like cooking instructions says medium high heat.
Yeah.
So medium.
Which I tend to, at least for our stovetop, I tend to believe is 7.
Yeah.
So medium low is probably 2 or 2.5.
Well, if low is 1 and 5 is like medium, then it's 3's in between.
See, I tend to think that 3 is I don't know, 3 to me is sort of medium as well. Anything below that is just low.
Oh, to me 4, 5, and 6 are medium. Then you have 3, 2, 1 is low, and then 9, 8, 7 is high.
See, I think 3's hot enough to keep something warm and potentially burn it on the bottom of a pot, whereas 2 and low aren't. That's why. But I've never done that, so that's completely unsubstantiated.
So we're gonna leave it at 3, so it's still bubbling a little.
3 3/4. 3 3/4 to the half mark.
It's still 3. 3 isn't like over here.
Yeah, but the little dot that actually marks that you're below.
Barely. Anyway, we're gonna leave it on 3. It's just barely bubbling, and we're gonna let it sit or simmer for. We're gonna do 30 minutes. I said 15, but we're gonna do 30. All right. So once it is done, we'll come back and do a taste test.
And hope you put enough sugar in it.
Yeah, I want it to cook a little bit. I'll probably check on it at 15 minutes or maybe even less than that and see if it needs more sugar or not. But for now, I think it's fine. With the remaining 4 biscuits, we're probably going to put them up, or we could cook them tomorrow.
Yeah, because then I could have my honey and biscuit sandwich that I missed out on the last time you made biscuits.
Yeah. I mean, there's 2 biscuits on the counter, but there was.
I thought you ate them.
I just finished them in the last 2 days.
Yeah.
But before that.
Which for viewers who don't know or can't imagine what I mean by honey biscuit, I mean cutting open a biscuit, putting honey on both sides or one side, and then just smushing the ends together. Literally a honey biscuit, like what people do with jam or peanut butter and jelly, but just honey.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Don't believe the hype. It's not.
It is amazing.
It's so sweet.
How much sugar did you just put in that?
And it's still not the equivalent of how much honey you eat in a biscuit or in your teas.
That's because honey's better. It's a natural sweetener.
Anyway, we'll see y'all when the taste test comes around. Alright, and now it's time for the taste test. It's done. I can't remember if I said in the video, but it wasn't sweet enough, so we added another half cup of sugar. And then once the dumplings shrunk, or the biscuits shrunk, it looked like there was nothing. So we added the last 4 biscuits, and it's definitely a lot more now.
Yes.
If you've seen previous pictures, which they may not have, depending on where or what you post.
Right.
The color is lighter, she thinks, because of our butter.
Yes.
Usually it's more of a darker purple. It's more like a burgundy.
Yeah, it's definitely a lighter purple, but I do think it's because of our butter.
Yeah, now it still tastes the same.
It sure does, and it tastes good.
Yep, so let's go ahead and try. That's your
Let's
spoon.
try now, since it's got the vegan butter.
Yep.
Yay.
And vegan biscuits.
Oh, and vegan biscuits. Okay.
It's very thick. And it's hot. Nice and sweet and tart.
It is so good. That's a dumpling. This is one of my favorite desserts. I grew up with this.
The dough is nice and chewy. It's cooked. It's soft. And there are still pieces of blackberries in here.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we stirred it a lot, so they do break down a little, but...
It is. It's nice and thick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really good.
So our non-vegan Cody, who helped me with the biscuits, gets to try some.
Because I helped you cook. Am I entitled to this?
It's hot.
It's hot. Mm-hmm.
What's some of the?
It's just
tan
seeds.
stuff?
Those are just blackberry seeds.
Yeah, you will see a lot of blackberry seeds in there.
Mm-hmm.
I guess technically if you wanted, you could strain the liquid before adding the biscuits. We don't, but
And I
you
don't know if
could.
they would change it though.
Yeah. I'd eat that like I eat the other one.
Yeah.
The normal one.
Because you can't even tell.
You can't tell at all.
I can.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not as strong.
Oh, flavor?
Yeah, but still good.
Flavor as in the blackberry, or?
I think so. Yeah.
So maybe you needed more blackberries then. Because there was a lot of water when you filled it up.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you needed more blackberries. I don't know.
Okay. It's really good though.
It is.
I can still see this. Listen, you guys. Vanilla ice cream. Our vegan vanilla ice cream. Oh my goodness. Pound cake. Although we need to find a vegan pound cake.
Mhm.
Oh, that would be so good.
But putting this over ice cream is really good. As the ice cream starts melting, and as you're eating it, it's a good combination between cold and warm.
It is. It is. And that's what I was thinking about. I was like, oh.
And before we were vegan, we tried this over cheesecake, and it's really good over cheesecake. We just have to find or make our own vegan cheesecake.
Yes, it is. That's one of the best. Yeah. But you know, this is my favorite girl.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And your tongue and lips will be purple.
Yes, they will. So you want to have this at night, not in the morning or for lunch when you still have to go out and maybe meet with clients. Mm.
Alright, so let us know if you make this. Because this is typically made with blackberries. You haven't tried with, I don't know, raspberries,
Anything else?
blueberries.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
we've only done it with blackberries. So if you make this dish or you make something similar, let us know in the comments below.
And what's your rating?
That's a 5.
Oh, it's a 5. Yes, it is. Nothing less. It might be like 5.66.
Yeah.
It's really good.
It is.
So definitely like this video, subscribe to the channel, like she says, leave us your comments below if you've made this or something very similar. And hit the notification button so you're notified every time we upload something. This is definitely a great dessert when it's cold or during the holidays.
Yeah.
Yes. And we will see you next time. Bye.